The college football playoff bracket is out, and once again, there is a whole lot of controversy. Should Miami be in? Should BYU be in? Should Alabama be in? Should Notre Dame be in? We'll break down everything that we think and everything that you need to know ahead of the playoff.
Because of that, we got to give our own predictions as to who's going to win this college football playoff. 12 teams for the second year in a row. Did the college football playoff committee get it right? Well, we certainly think our No Pulp committee got it right, and you're going to have to stick around and find out who we got.
We've also got the semifinals and the finals of the Juicer tournament. This is the final show of 2025, so you're going to want to tune in. Don't go anywhere. No Pulp starts right now.
Think of every sacrifice. Early mornings on the levee, late nights in the film room. It's all led to this. It's a 60-minute drive for a 60-minute game. After all the miles we've traveled, we're almost there.
In trouble! Touchdown! Caught! C.J. Daniels! A tremendous one-handed catch!
Allen, sideline. Oh, it's picked! Dylan Thieneman calls game!
Down the field, Tate! Touchdown! Home run hitter!
Well, if that doesn't get you excited for the college football playoff, I don't know what will. That's Adam Avin. I'm Adam Gotkin. Welcome into the final No Pulp of 2025. And let's get right to it. Let's show you the bracket, show you what the college football playoff committee ended up deciding to go with. And they have, let's start on the left side. Alabama taking on Oklahoma in the 8-9 matchup. The winner of that will play the 1 seed Indiana. 12 seed JMU makes it in out of the Sun Belt. They'll take on the 5 seed Oregon. The winner of that plays Texas Tech. On the right side of the bracket, Miami, the 10 seed, plays the 7 seed Texas A&M. Winner takes on Ohio State, and Tulane is the American champion, makes it in as the 11 seed. They will take on Ole Miss. Winner of that plays Georgia. So, out of all of this, I think everyone can pretty much agree on, I would say 1 through 8 in terms of the seeding.
Sure.
And then after that, teams 9 and 10, Alabama and Miami.
Right.
Whole lot of controversy there because a lot of people thought that Notre Dame should have made it in, and that is without a doubt the biggest conversation talking point coming out of this reveal because, look, I'm going to be honest, I don't understand how Miami can pass Notre Dame without playing a game.
And this is the issue. This is the issue, right? Miami and Notre Dame play each other week 1. Miami defeats Notre Dame. Notre Dame then goes on to win 10 straight after losing their first 2. Miami has a couple of bad losses in there. Technically, with the same record, both teams keeping up the same level of play, somewhat of a consistency throughout the whole season, you have to go to the head-to-head record. The issue with the college football playoff committee and them releasing their rankings is that throughout this whole time, Notre Dame was ranked ahead of Miami. So everybody was complaining, well, the head-to-head record, Miami should be in over Notre Dame, but then they were never next to each other is what the committee said, so the committee couldn't necessarily compare. BYU loses, and that put these two teams at 10 and 11, gave Miami the bump that the committee had been looking for that whole time. But I think it's ridiculous that we're even having this conversation because if the head-to-head record matters so much like the committee's been talking about all season long, they should have been ranked ahead of Notre Dame to begin with.
Here's the thing. I don't understand how Miami jumps from 18 to 10 without really doing much over the final month of the season. You look at what Miami did. You look at what Notre Dame did over the last month. They both blew out Pitt. They both blew out Syracuse and beat 2 other bad teams. Like, there was nothing crazy that Miami did, yet it jumped 8 spots. Like, I don't think Miami should be in because I think that the 2 losses that it has against Louisville, against SMU, are way, way worse than the losses that Notre Dame has, and you have to take that into account. I mean, the fact that Notre Dame, okay, fine, with a quarterback who had never started a game before, lost by a combined 4 points against A&M and Miami the first 2 weeks of the season, and then beat every other team by 10-plus points. Miami, on the other hand, yes, they pick up that big win start of the season against Notre Dame. They don't really play anyone else the rest of the year, and they have 2 bad losses in there.
Yes, but I think there's a couple of things that we have to look at here. First thing is, if we're going to talk about Notre Dame's losses and not use it against them, one of their losses was Miami.
Yes,
Miami
it was.
beat Notre Dame.
But it's not a
right?
bad loss.
I know, but if we're talking about it not being a bad loss for Notre Dame because they lost to Miami, then we have to talk about it as a really high-quality win, beating Notre Dame for Miami.
Yeah.
And on the flip side, when we talk about the committee, we talk about SEC fatigue and them always wanting to get into teams like Alabama. We're going to get to all that. But not having an ACC team in this playoff, not having a top Power 4 program in there, says a lot about the way that the committee right now has structured everything. And Duke, a 5-loss ACC champion, was never going to make it in. Having Miami and Notre Dame right next to each other gave them the opportunity to say, hey, this is the shot. Notre Dame lost to them. The Hurricanes are in the playoff.
I don't understand how you put Miami in just to get an ACC team, and that doesn't matter.
The logic of the committee doesn't make sense at all, but that's what happened.
It should be the best teams in the country.
Yes.
And the strength of schedule, the FPI, both say that Notre Dame should have been in over Miami, and I think those bad losses, to me, are what's important. Now, the other team that was on the bubble that a lot of people were upset that made it was Alabama.
Sure.
They had that bad loss in the SEC title game, get destroyed by Georgia.
Yeah.
But look, I look at this Crimson Tide team. It's losses. Yes, you lose that game to Florida State, which was a bad one. But Alabama, unlike Miami, unlike Notre Dame, has 3 really high-quality wins, beating Tennessee, beating Georgia, beating Vanderbilt, and they also had that Missouri win, which was a big-time win as well. So I think you look at this Crimson Tide team, they had enough big wins throughout the season where you have to put them in.
Well, Steve Sarkisian also made the case for Texas,
which I thought there was a case there.
With 3 top 10 teams, again, 3 top 10 wins, to get into the playoff as well. The question with Alabama is, how does the conference championship game affect the final record and then in turn affect their decision into getting into the playoff? The committee made it very clear that conference championships don't necessarily matter. I thought Ohio State...
I disagree. I think they made it very clear. BYU missed the playoff because it lost the conference championship game.
I was going to get to that, and that's why things are confusing to me, because they made it clear for Alabama.
Bama dropped.
Bama was 9 going into it. They were projected to play Oklahoma anyways. They lose that game, and they stay at 9. They don't drop at all.
Well, they lose a home 10. Game. They could have been at home against Oklahoma. Instead, they're on the road because what? They lost to Georgia, who was the number 3 team in the country. You can't fault them for that. And that game's final score was way further than the game actually was. It was pretty close.
Yeah, it was. But I think the logic of the committee is, well, they beat Georgia once. This loss, we're not going to knock them for it. But the fact that BYU loses twice to Texas Tech in a worse conference made sense to me. But the committee, in the way that they're determining which teams are getting in, which teams are getting out, sometimes their responses are just not adding up, and they got to figure it out.
Well, you brought up a moment ago how the ACC champion was Duke, which meant that there were 2 spots open for a group of 5 teams because a 5-loss Blue Devils team was never going to make the college football playoff. So Tulane and James Madison both get it. Look, here's my thing. You have 2 teams outside of the top 20 who make a 12-team playoff. That just doesn't make any sense. We should have the 12 best teams competing for the national championship. And if you want to say throw one group of 5 team in because they don't have the opportunity to pick up wins throughout the season, fine. 2 of them, I don't get it. James Madison or Tulane, either one, whichever one you want to say who you don't think is as good, is taking a spot away from Notre Dame, who actually has a chance to win the title.
Right. And I think the bigger issue here is when we talk about the conference champions and having these automatic qualifiers, is that that's not necessarily the case, as we talked about with Duke not being in. So do you get rid of the conference championships altogether and have the best team from each conference as the automatic qualifier in there? I don't really know, but Arizona State's head coach Kenny Dillingham, I don't know if you saw this, he called it a big old mess. Take a listen.
Right. There is no right answer here. We've created a mess. Point blank. The whole industry is a mess, right? The only thing that's not a mess is the dollar signs. Those are still pointing up. Everything else is a mess. The dollar sign, the business of it, that's skyrocketing. Everything else is a mess.
Well, he's right. Absolutely right. Dollar signs going up, everything else just pure chaos. All right, well, I'm sure we'll have some chaos coming up because the Juicer tournament gets underway when we come back. Max Gifford, Hudson Ridley, ready to go to war. You don't want to miss it.
Life is full of challenges, heartbreak, taxes, trying to fold a fitted sheet, but none compare to the struggle it took to reach this moment, the Final Four of the Juicer Tournament. 8 contenders began this journey, but only 4 lived to tell the tale. Let's relive how our semifinalists clawed their way to glory. Last year's runner-up, Hudson Ridley, came back to prove it was no fluke. His season has been pure grit. Every win was a 4-3 bonus question thriller. When the pressure peaks, buzzer beater. Game on the line, there's no question whose hands you want the ball in.
That's why I give Hudson the win.
From one sports director to another, Adam Avin started the year like a man on a mission. After a 5-1 beatdown in the opener and an upset over the 4 seed, the big boss punched his ticket to fight for the crown.
The Axel Lendenborg is the better shot maker. Braden Smith said.
But you know what, or rather who, is actually ridiculous? Max Gifford. When this guy enters a room, everyone braces themselves because they know he's either about to melt down, breakout dance, or do both while still managing to win. And our final competitor needs no introduction, because what he lacks in height, he more than makes up for in passion and energy.
And if you disagree, you're wrong.
I know you're going to disagree, Sam, but it's Ole Miss.
When Sam Reese has a point to make, buckle up. Fresh off a sweep, the 1 seed looks to cash in with some more.
Knows who he is. The question is...
4 contenders, 1 champion. The No Pulp Juicer Tournament Final Four starts right now.
Oh boy, am I ready to get things going. Here we go. Semi-final number 1. We have the 2 seed Max Gifford and the 3 seed Hudson Ridley. Let's get things going. Question number 1 here of the Juicer semifinal, and Max is the higher seed. I go to you first. Who is the least deserving team that made the college football playoff?
Well, I might get some Instagram comments coming after me about this, but let's be serious. What has Oregon done to earn a top 12 resume, let alone a top 5 resume? And look, I understand you can win the games that are in front of you. I'm not trying to discount Oregon for doing that. But the problem is with the preseason rankings. Oregon started at 7, and then they ended up moving up because all these other teams weren't playing Oregon State, Montana State, Oklahoma State like Oregon was. Then you lose to Indiana. That doesn't affect your ranking too much. And if you really compare resumes, the Ducks' best win is against Iowa on the road by 2 points. And again, that Iowa team's not ranked anymore. So if I'm BYU, I'm sitting there saying, we have the same record, except we have the highest ranked win between the 2 teams, and we got punished for playing the extra game. I don't think Oregon was a very deserving team.
Okay, well, they're 11-1, and their losses to the best team in the country right now. I don't think you can really say that. The question is, who's the least deserving
if BYU
team
was
to be
7,
in it?
It wouldn't have changed.
All right, let him go.
Oregon should be in it, right? There's no question. Do I like Oregon? No, but they should be in it. Tulane should not be in this. I do understand it is the top 4 conference champions, but this is a flawed system of how they have done this. Tulane has 2 losses this season. One of them is to UTSA by 22 points, and the other one is to Ole Miss by 35, who they happen to play in the first round. Tell me this is a team that deserves to be in the college football playoff when they are number 20 in the country. Look, Jake Retzlaff, right? He's a solid quarterback. He's had a good year for Tulane, sure. But when you're talking about the best 12 teams in the country, where does Tulane fit in? Now, James Madison, you could also argue, is in that category as well. But for me, Tulane stands out even more because their first-round matchup, they already lost to that team by 35 points.
Yeah, for me, this is easy. I'm going with Tulane. Look, Oregon is making the playoff as an 11-1 team every single year out of the Big Ten. So question number 1 goes to Hudson. Question number 2, Max, I'm going to go to you again first. Out of all the first-round matchups, all 4 of them, which one is most exciting to you?
It's the game the scriptwriters have been thinking about ever since they wanted to create these college football playoff games on campus, Alabama and Oklahoma. You're talking about standalone, under the Friday night lights, SEC versus SEC. It's a rematch of one of the tightest conference games all season when Oklahoma won by 2. And you remember, there's a little bit of bad blood between these teams when it comes to the playoff. You remember that 2018 Orange Bowl when Kyler Murray and Tua were the quarterbacks? And there was an interesting note I figured out.
That game, so.
Tua might not remember that. Jalen Hurts did also play in that game, just a fun fact. But I figured out that Alabama has only beaten Oklahoma one other time, and that was in 1962 when JFK was the president. And I know it's really hard to beat a team twice, so I expect a nail-biter in Norman. And, what a way to start off the slate on the Friday night alone.
Norman's fun. College Station is really fun. And this is a matchup where we have no idea what we're going to get. Miami and Texas A&M. This is the absolute thriller. Two offenses that this year have made heroic comebacks in games and spots where you really never know what you're going to get from both teams. Both sides have some of the most electric playmakers in the country. An atmosphere at College Station, a stadium that holds over 100,000. There will be a lot of Texas A&M police tweets about drunk fans during the game. This is college football energy personified, especially because these are two teams that have not had their chances in the playoffs recently, that are going to be scratching and clawing for every inch that they can get. Do you know how much this would mean to Texas A&M, or how much this would mean to Miami? And the cherry on top, we know what we could get from Alabama and Oklahoma. We have no idea what it could be with Miami and Texas A&M, and that fun is so exciting.
It's a noon game, but that's besides
I
the
don't
point.
care if it's a noon game. Here's the thing. You're talking about history between two teams that don't really have much history. You're talking about electric offenses at Kyle Field. I mean, it's obviously Texas A&M against Miami. So 3-0. You're in the lead at Hudson. But, Max, it's not done yet, because we have the 3-point question here, although I will go to Hudson first with it. Which team has the easiest road to the national championship? If you win this question, you're on to the finals.
To me, it's the one who has that design advantage in the bracket, Indiana. They have the potential to play a couple schools that, you argued yourself. Oregon is a potential matchup on their side of the bracket. Max Gifford doesn't even think they deserve to be in the tournament, let alone Texas Tech, who that is their best competition. And I like Texas Tech, but I would not compare them to an Ohio State. You look down the list too. Alabama right now, their offense is really struggling. I could see Indiana steamrolling. Oklahoma has been unconvincing as of recently. And hey, James Madison. And that's all I have to say about James Madison. So I do think this side of the bracket for Indiana is easy, considering what is on the other side for some of those teams.
No, it's got to be Georgia. I mean, not only do you get a 3.5-week hiatus of playing college football, then you're either playing a Lane Kiffinless Ole Miss team, or you're playing a John Summerall Tulane team who's going to basically have his bags packed to Florida by that point. Then after that, so that's essentially an auto bid into the semifinals. You're taking on an Ohio State team, most likely, who hasn't been playing their best football as of late, so I could see Texas A&M and Miami also coming out of that. Then you get to the finals. Nobody has more national championship experience than Kirby Smart. I think that experience is going to show, especially with a much healthier roster than he had last year.
Here's the thing. I think no matter what, that semifinal game is going to be tough, but I think beating either Oklahoma or Alabama is going to be so much tougher than having to beat Ole Miss or Tulane. So, Max, you win this, which means we are tied at 3, and it all comes down to this. The bonus question with a spot in the Juicer Finals on the line. Hudson, who's the most underrated team in college football playoff?
Right now, it's Texas Tech. Texas A&M. My bad. Freudian slip, but I will say there is no reason on earth that Texas A&M should be playing a real game in the first round. There's no reason that Texas A&M should be below Ole Miss, who gets to play a cupcake in Tulane. They're playing Miami, a real team. I think they're getting undervalued by this point based on what they've put on tape this year.
All right, Max.
I think if anything, they're overrated. Nick Saban said it this past week. I think Texas Tech is still getting underrated. Look, the Big Ten and SEC have gotten their flowers, but I think because they're in the Big 12, they're not getting the praise that they deserve. This isn't the Cliff Kingsbury and Matt Wells teams that we've seen in the past. Joey McGuire has made some moves. This team is built on the line of scrimmage, and I think they can go toe-to-toe with any team in the country.
All right, both very good arguments. You guys both gave your best foot forward, but for me, I think that the Big 12 champion who's the 4 seed is everyone knows who they are, so it's Texas A&M. I think that they are truly underrated. One loss out of the SEC, I think they can win it all. Yeah. I unfortunately don't think that your team can. So Hudson moves on to the Juicer Championship game. He'll take on the winner of Sam Reese and Adam Avin. That comes up later in the show, but before that, we'll give you our full bracket predictions coming up on No Pulp.
Like sweet go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back into No Pulp. Adam Gotkin, Adam Avin here with you. We typically talk about maybe college basketball at this point in the show, but it's playoff time, so it's college football all the way. You see our bracket still behind us. Adam, we're going to dive into our picks in just a moment or two, but outside of the games that we might key on in a second, is there something else that stands out to you about this format?
I think that the biggest thing that I notice is that the 1 and 2 seeds have probably the toughest draws because look, I mean, Oregon, Jamie, we've heard everything about them.
Right.
Maybe not that great. You don't have your head coach. You don't have your head coach. 3 and 4, I think, are in the best spot, which is crazy
100%,
to say.
100%. No, they really do. And on that note, this is obviously a blank bracket that we got, and we've kind of hinted and foreshadowed at maybe what our predictions are could be. So let's start with your bracket, Adam. I don't know where you want to start, but let's see who you got going away. Here we go.
So we'll fill it all in. First off, in the first round, I have pretty much all chalk. The only difference that I have is Alabama beating Oklahoma. I think that Ty Simpson is better than John Mateer, and because of that, I think that the Crimson Tide can get it done. Other than that, we have Oregon, we have Ole Miss, and we have A&M, all the favorites in that.
Right.
And then here's the thing that I really see after that is I think that Indiana is without a doubt going to beat this Alabama team and go to the semifinal. Look, I don't think that Bama can hold up with Indiana on the trenches, which is a crazy thing to say. But with the way that Indiana's looked so far this season, the way that it beat Ohio State, I think that Indiana can get there. And I think that Indiana will beat Oregon as well, just as it did earlier in the season at Autzen Stadium. Because, again, the Hoosiers in the trenches are just that good, and Kurt Cignetti
100%.
is an incredible football coach. Over on the other side of the bracket, again, I have all chalk up until the semifinal, where in this Georgia-Ohio State game, I have the Bulldogs moving on. Now, this was, I think, the toughest game for me to pick in the entire bracket. This one I was having a lot of struggle with, the Bama against Oklahoma. And then this Ohio State-Georgia game. I think that both are incredible teams. They both have very good offenses, very good defenses. But I like Connor Stockton more than I do Julian Sand. Stockton in the playoff last year looked good coming as a backup.
He did.
And because of that, I trust this Georgia Bulldogs team to go all the way, beat Indiana, and win the national championship. Look, Kirby Smart will get his get back after last year losing in the first round that they played in, getting the bye, losing to Notre Dame. Look, I think that this Bulldogs team is so good on defense. And also, I think that the SEC has a little bit of juice going into this tournament. Everyone's saying, oh, everyone always talks about the SEC. It's not that good. I still think that the SEC is far and away the best conference, and it is not even close. And look, the Big Ten's great. Indiana, Ohio State had great seasons this year. But Georgia, week in, week out, got tested at a level that the other teams didn't. And because of that, I like the Bulldogs to take home the Natty and Kirby Smart to get another ring. He's not yet at Nick Saban's level, but he's closely getting there.
Well, you know what? And before I get to mine, on Georgia real quick, Kirby Smart doesn't forget. He finally overcame his demons and beat Alabama once again in the postseason after a long drought. If he can beat that team, a team that I think they're much better than, all of these other teams, I think Georgia can run the table. On that note, let's take a look at my bracket as well. We do not have a lot.
Pretty similar.
It's basically the same, outside of one thing. Texas Tech beating Oregon. And the reason why I think Texas Tech can get the job done is because of what they've done this year. I know the Big 12, you can easily say that it's one of the, you could argue it's a worse Power 4 conference in the ACC. You can. But it's tricky.
It's close, though.
It is. But what they did, 42 points per game, they held their opponents to 10 points per game and are 3-0 against ranked opponents. 2 of those wins coming to BYU, the second best team in their conference that had a case of making the playoffs themselves. But Cameron Dickey might be one of the best running backs in the country. I think he's one of the more underrated players. I think Joey McGuire is one of the most underrated head coaches in college football right now.
Dan Lanning has the experience that he doesn't. That's why I'm picking the Ducks.
And I totally understand that. I think right now Texas Tech and the Red Raiders are kind of riding the hot hand a little bit. Oregon has had a bit of a break. Them not playing for the conference championship, I think, could hurt them. right now. And we know how good Dante Moore is and Dan Lanning, coach. He comes from that Saban system, the intensity that his team brings every time they step on the field. They deserve to be in the playoff, despite what Max Gifford thought before. But I do think with what Texas Tech has done this year, I think they are a little too much of a hot streak. I mean, they're the 4th best team in the country, and you can make a case because of the Big Ten loss that they should be higher. On that note, I do want to jump over here. We have pretty much the same thing. I have Indiana going to the national championship as well. I think they handle Alabama with ease. Now we go over here. I had probably the hardest time deciding this game.
I don't think Miami's a good team.
I think
watch them play. They're not that good.
But I agree. But Texas A&M has had trouble stopping stars all year long, and Malachi Toney is one of, if not the best wide receiver in the country.
Jeremiah Smith.
I said one of, if not the best. You can make the argument, but as a true freshman and what he's doing, Malachi Toney in Miami could give Texas A&M a run for their money. Do I think they're going to win? No. I still think the Aggies got it. They played in the SEC. They had harder competition. I think Mike Elko and company takes on Ohio State. And this is where things get interesting to me because, like you could make the case that either one of these teams can win the national championship and could have advanced to the national championship. But like I said, the reason why I did not go with Ohio State is because I do think their schedule was a little bit inflated by the way that they started off the year. They had a good win against Texas, who was the #1 seed to kick off the season. It was a 14-7 win. Outside of that, it took them a while, I felt like, for them to really have a quality win to tell me that they showed enough to where they can handle a team like Indiana with ease. I know Indiana had success last year. Kurt Cinetti did a great job last year in his first season with the team. But now, in year 2, all right, maybe you take a step back. No, they came out firing, and you only lose them. They only win by 3 points. Indiana's a good football team, don't get me wrong, and I think they have an easy path. That's why we both put them in the national championship. But Ohio State not staying more competitive in that game and winning with ease, I know there were missed field goal. I know there were other things. I don't know. It's off to me. I think when they face an SEC team like Georgia, the competition that the Bulldogs have played, Kirby Smart and crew, is going to get there. And I think Georgia's going to be there for a little bit of a different reason. Earlier in the season, especially in that game against Alabama, they struggled to run the ball off the jump. But now what Georgia is doing offensively, everything is clicking. 9 straight wins, 3 top 10 wins in that span. And the path that they have, Adam, you talked about it, so I won't harp on it too much. They play potentially Tulane. John Summerall's coaching that team right now, but he's leaving for Florida. Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin's already gone. Pete Goldman's taking the helm there. Georgia will win their first game no matter what. And the reason why Georgia struggled last year in the playoff was because, for the same reason, SEC championship, which meant they got a first-round bye. They didn't have any warm-up game, so they had to play Notre Dame in the Sugar Bowl. And what happened? They lost. And Notre Dame goes on almost to compete for the national championship and win it. So Georgia now has kind of that warm-up game that I think they didn't have last year. Because of that, it's going to give them the momentum to build on and beat Ohio State and advance to the national championship. I think it's more of the path than I do think it is the actual talent between the two teams because it's too close to call for me.
Here's the thing that to me is clear, and I wonder if you see it the same way. Sure. Indiana, Ohio State, and Georgia are miles ahead of everyone else.
Yeah, 100%.
I think that it's 100%. Those three, and then a big gap.
Yeah.
And then really everyone else up until you get to JMU and Tulane. Personally, I don't think Miami's in the conversation. I think every other team is kind of in that same tier.
Yeah.
I think that Oklahoma's defense is good enough. Oregon, who knows? Maybe they can do it. Bama.
About everybody.
Yes, everyone else's questions. I think Indiana, Ohio State, and Georgia,
I agree.
They don't have questions. I think you can believe in all those teams. You can believe in their coaches, and you can believe in their quarterbacks.
I agree.
I think that's the big thing. Fernando Mendoza, Julian Sain, Gunnar Stockton, 3 guys you can trust. Quarterbacks are everything when it comes to the college football playoff.
And you know what? One final note before we move on here. Ole Miss, without Lane Kiffin now, I dropped them way more than if they had Lane Kiffin. If he was still there, and now after this whole mess, I'm not even the biggest Kiffin fan anymore. I'll get to that a little bit later in the show. But with him not being there, I don't give them a shot at all.
I think Pete Golding's a really good coach. I think he was going to get a head coaching job eventually. All the assistants are there. All the players are there. They're playing with more fire. I think they blow out Tulane. And then Georgia, who knows?
Regardless of what happens, we both have the Bulldogs going and winning the national championship, facing off against Indiana. Hey,
go Bulldogs.
You mean Pat McAfee up in here? Take off your shirt, wave it around. Chant the Bulldog. No. All right, we got some more juicer stuff going on after the break. You're not going to want to miss it. Sam Reese tries to take my crown. I'm undefeated on the year. So is Sam Reese. He is the higher seed. Can I take him down? Who knows? Stay with us.
Welcome to my house. Lately, not my happy place. Everybody's pretty tired of each other. The parents were not themselves. My little brothers were morphing into small creatures. The walls were closing in. Clearly, a case of too much family, too close, 24/7. And there's a lot of that going around right now. If this sounds like your house, try going someplace new. YourLifeYourVoice.org. You'll find lots of ideas to help you handle the family stresses of being confined to close quarters. YourLifeYourVoice.org. It might not get you out of the house, but it could help you find a little more breathing room.
Welcome back into No Pulp. I'm Adam Gotkin with Adam Avin and Sam Reese. It's the second semifinal of the Juicer tournament. The winner will take on Hudson Ridley in about 10-15 minutes. So let's get going. Your question number one of the Juicer final, or Juicer semifinal. Adam, I'm going to go to you first. Who is the most disappointing team this season in college football?
I thought we took a jump to the final. I got excited for a second.
Yeah, I'm ready for it.
Look, either way, a team that was almost competing for a final national championship last year was Penn State, who completely ruined their season this year and became the worst team in college football. I mean, they were the number 2 team in the preseason AP poll, lost 6 straight after that 3-0 start. They came in with the 3rd highest odds behind Texas and Ohio State, a team with a top 15 recruiting class, all the talented returners, or so we thought, that they brought in. And once they dropped that game to Oregon, what's the narrative with Penn State? Every year they cannot win the big game, James Franklin specifically. But if you would have predicted that after that game, their season would become an ultimate collapse, Franklin gets fired, they miss the playoff, I mean, you should have applied for the lottery or something because you'd be a lock for $1 million. Nobody would have predicted any of that to happen, and the fact that it did just shows why they were the most disappointing team in college football by far.
Not quite. They had a disappointing season, but the most disappointing was Clemson because they were disappointing from the start, from the get-go. And with a team like Penn State, Indiana, Oregon, Ohio State, you kind of expect them to potentially lose those games. With Clemson, this is a clear favorite in the ACC that was put into the national championship conversation that should have won every game really in their conference. And what did they do? They went 500 in ACC play, had a losing record at home. That's supposed to be a tough place to play at Death Valley. The defense underwhelmed by a landslide, allowing 30-plus points to both Syracuse and SMU. Also gave up 46 to Duke, and Cade Klubnik and the rest of that offense just extremely disappointing from the start of this season. And again, this was a conference there for the taking, a terrible conference that the winner didn't even get into the college football playoff. Clemson easily the most disappointing.
Happy Valley became Death Valley.
Here's the thing. I think that a lot of people saw Penn State's floor completely falling out after they lost that big game. I wasn't that surprised. Clemson, on the other hand, I didn't think that they could steep to that low under Dabo. So, Sam, you get question number one and point number one. But question number two is worth 2 points. And, Adam, I'm going to go to you again. The best single-game performer this season in college football. Let's hear it.
Well, when you think of the best single-game performance, guys, you have to think about the stakes in the game as well and what they do on the field. Not just the talent and the statistics, but the outcome of the game. And that's why the best single-game performance has to be Marcel Reed and South Carolina. They were down by 30 points in that game. Marcel Reed, who you wouldn't say is the best quarterback in the country, but certainly one of the most talented, and especially from a statistical perspective over the course of this season. In the second half alone against South Carolina, if they lose that game, they drop farther in the standings than the loss at the end of the year to a ranked team. That would have hurt Texas A&M, but no, he put the team on his back, threw for 400 yards and 3 touchdowns, ran over the Gamecocks in the second half of that game, and helped put Texas Tech up at the top to where they stayed for the remainder of the season. That's what was so special about that game. The largest comeback in Texas A&M program history, the largest comeback of this football season, and Marcel Reed did it all by himself, and that's why that was the most impressive performance to me in an SEC game. He did it all.
He was bad in that first half, threw an interception, and by the way, a nice performance from him, but that's 300 passing yards
Keep
shy
complimenting
of
you.
the all-time record by Patrick Mahomes. Someone who set the all-time NCAA record in rushing yards, though, was Monty Quinn, who easily had the best single-game player performance of the season, without a doubt. Curry College's own ran for 522 yards. This was the best performance from start to finish. He dominated in a 71-27 victory. 20 carries, by the way, for 522 yards. That's over 26 yards per carry. He ran into the end zone 7 times. 5 of those touchdown runs were for 50-plus yards. The coolest part about it, the guy sat out the final 2 drives of the game. He didn't even need to play the final 10 minutes because he had the best performance you'll ever see on a college football field.
522 yards, 7 touchdowns. I mean,
unbelievable.
You can't have a better performance than that.
What team is he on? The competition he's playing against.
College football. The question is college football. They're a college football team. So
Respect
Sam,
Division 3.
All right, Sam, you go first for this. If you get this question right, you're moving on to the Juicer Championship against Hudson Ridley. Who was the most underwhelming player this season?
Yeah, this is easy for me, and it's DJ Lagway of Florida, who came into this season with a lot of expectation, right? This whole Gators team did, and the quarterback position is the most important, and Lagway digressed significantly throughout the course of this season compared to how he performed a year ago. His mechanics were off all year long, consistently off target on throws, and he was a turnover machine. You're watching right here. This was a 5-interception game against LSU, and then later in the season, he threw 3 picks in the first half against Kentucky. They had an interim coach by this point, and he benched him after the first half. Very, very underwhelming and disappointing performance all season long for DJ Lagway. It's an easy pick for me.
As a Florida Gator fan myself, I can tell you that nobody expected DJ Lagway to be one of the best quarterbacks in the country because last year he wasn't good either. He's one of the highest turnover machines in the SEC. Sure. Let's talk about a quarterback from last year, though, that was setting records, that was a Heisman favorite coming into this season, that was a potential first-round draft pick coming into the season, and now his stock is lower than ever before. Garrett Nussmeier from LSU. And look, we're going to say that he only played 9 games compared to the 12 that he played last year. Brian Kelly's no longer the head coach. Well, DJ Lagway lost his head coach as well. It didn't matter. He was probably worse with Billy Napier than he was afterwards. Garrett Nussmeier was bad. You talk about from start to finish. Talk about no impressive wins. From start to finish, Nussmeier was horrible. Finished the year with under 2,000 yards. If he would have played those final 3 games to match his totals from last year, he still would have finished with about as half of the yards that he threw for last year. He threw for 4,027 touchdowns. This year, just under 2,000, 1,912 touchdowns. I don't care what injuries he was going through. Every time anybody spoke up, including himself, he was ready to put his full health out there on the field and win games for that LSU team. And even against Alabama late in the year, there was no competition from him or talent at all.
The crucial part about underwhelming is the expectations you have going in. Heisman potential. People thought that Lagway could have a boost going into his sophomore year. It's Nussmeier, much more underwhelming. All right, so just like we had in the first semifinal, we're on to the bonus question, and you guys are going to have to be quick here. Sam, whose stock rose the most this year as a head coach?
Yeah, I mean, people are going to call me crazy saying his stock rose a lot last year. I think it was going up last year and went way up this year, and that's Curt Cignetti, without a doubt. What he did, even in the jump from year 1 to 2, is something that's very impressive to me, because it's one thing to come to the losingest program in FBS history and take them to the college football playoff, but they were absolutely dominated by Notre Dame last year. So to recollect, come back this year and bring them to the number 1 team in the country.
All right, we got it. Let's go, Adam.
It's got to be Cignetti.
You know, one of the other worst teams in all of college football for the history ever is Vanderbilt. Playing in the SEC, Nick Saban goes on TV and says it all the time. The SEC is a much tougher conference, and Nick Saban says all the time, they're an Ivy League team disguised as an SEC team. They were a top 15. They have 10 wins. Oh, Clark Lee from Vanderbilt, the head coach. He got himself a massive extension after this season, won 10 games the first time, and God knows how long, just 7 games last year. You could see the rise start, but now he's flipping 5-star pluses from Georgia and making them an SEC team that people respect.
All right, here's the thing, though. Curt Cignetti took the worst team in college football history and brought them to an undefeated season and the number 1 overall seed in the college football playoffs. So, Sam Reese, you are going to the Juicer Championship game.
They won 10 games.
We've got 1 versus 2 in the Juicer finale coming up in just a moment. Oh boy, this should be fun. A collision course towards the end. You're not going to want to miss it. But before that, we've got our plays and stories of the season. Don't go anywhere. We've got a fun final 20 minutes of the year of No Pulp coming up.
Dad, they took over my bedroom. Come on, come on. Okay, Dad. 1, 2, 3. Dad! You saved me. Dad?
Are you okay?
I'm fine, dear.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
The black truck? Hey, Christina from accounting.
Yeah, hi.
Hey, I used to date a girl named Christina.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then she dumped me for my best friend. You want to see some photos of them that I took?
I don't.
I thought we talked about this, buddy.
Buzz and overshared again?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna call a car.
That's a smart idea.
So, yeah, I know. That's why I did it.
Hey, you're gonna get back to the top of the mountain.
Does that mean I'm gonna get back with Christina?
No.
Oh.
No.
Welcome back into No Pulp. Adam Gotkin alongside Adam Avin. We have our juicer finale set. It'll be Sam Reese against Hudson Ridley. But before that, we're going to get to our plays of the season and our stories of the season. Let's start things off. Plays of the season. For mine, I'm going back to that Indiana against Penn State game, which this is a very close game, one-score game, and Omar Cooper makes an unbelievable toe-tap catch on 3rd and goal. Indiana's season, I mean, it was really kind of on the brink of things at a turn because no one knew what was going to happen if Indiana lost this game, but it doesn't matter. They win because Omar Cooper makes the catch. It's an incredible throw, an incredible catch on 3rd and goal for Indiana to beat Penn State and solidify its undefeated season and #1 overall seed in the college football playoff.
And on the theme of the college football playoff, I kind of feel like I have to continue with this because this happened in one of the first games of the year, and coincidentally between two of the most connected teams so far this season, Notre Dame and Miami. It was the Carson Beck throw, the C.J. Daniels catch. Let's take a look what we got it. C.J. Daniels goes all the way back right at the goal line. Oh, cocks it all the way back, gets into the end zone, falls back in. And this is a play that when you think of the 2025 college football season, you are going to think of. This conversation between Notre Dame and Miami, that is the play. That is one of the moments that caused what happened at the end of the year. And oh boy, does it stay on top as one of the best plays from the college football season.
All right, so that whole Miami-Notre Dame controversy could have completely been washed out if the tournament committee did what it should have done and did what its basketball counterparts do, and that's not release a rankings, not release any sort of bracket until the season is over. Look, the committee has said that the most important thing is what happens at the end of the year, the resume at the end of the season. Then don't release rankings throughout the year. Okay, you can say that Miami should be ahead of Notre Dame and head-to-head plays a factor in it. Sure, at the end of the season, make that argument, but how can Miami jump from 18-10 over the final few weeks of the season without really beating anyone? This all could have been resolved if the committee just didn't put out its rankings. We don't need that show every Tuesday. We could have maybe a top 4 seeds like the basketball committee does the top 16 seeds, and then, you know what? Just do things how they should be done and release the bracket at the end of the season.
And on that note, I'm going to continue with kind of a college football playoff theme as well. Because earlier this semester, I complained that the people who hold the power have made college football way too complicated and confusing for the average sports fan. However, over the past month, I believe this to be a part of a much larger issue. The college football calendar needs to change. The transfer portal has screwed up recruiting and NIL. Players have to leave their teams in the middle of playoff and bowl season, and coaches vying for better jobs can't finish out the season with the teams they've worked so hard for. You can take Lane Kiffin as the most recent example. He left Ole Miss before the playoffs to go to LSU, and they won't let him coach his team. Although if I was Ole Miss, I wouldn't let him coach either. But that's besides the point. The most ironic part is that it was the coaches that did this. They wanted signing day in December. They wanted a single transfer portal in January. They wanted the game scheduled a certain way. And the Coaches Association voted on all this change. It wasn't forced upon them. And now all the people who are complaining are the people who made these decisions, leading to all the dysfunction that we call college football. Don't get me wrong, it's the most fun and entertaining show on earth. I love it. But we can have it stay that way with a lot of fixing and make everybody happy. And that is the story of the season. It'll happen one day once Josh Pate becomes the college football commissioner, but until then, we're going to have to wait.
Alrighty, well, I think we both agree that there's got to be a lot of change in college football. But before we get to the Juicer finale, we would like to give a huge shout out to our executive producer here at No Pulp, Mr. Connor McGahan, as this is the final show of his tenure and the final show of 2025. Connor did an incredible job last year as one of the associate producers, and he's taken this show to new heights as the executive producer.
You know, I'm going to save a lot of my thoughts for Connor after the show when I get to talk to him face to face, but so I can hear the embarrassment in the control room, I feel blessed to be the person that put Connor in this position to be the executive producer of this show, and it's been such an awesome time working with him over the past 3 years and however many semesters he's been working on No Pulp. He's great. The rest of his team is great. Cindy Chan, Nick King, Ryan Croak, thank you all for your hard work this year as well. You guys have all made our lives so much easier, but it would not be done, and the show would not be what it is without Connor McGahan.
Big thank you to all of our producers, and they've got some exciting stuff for us for the final 10 or so minutes of this show, because when we come back, we've got the Juicer finale. Hudson Ridley, Sam Reese, a trophy on the line, some orange juice on the line. Who's going to win it? You're going to want to find out.
Women are bad with money.
That's what the world's been saying for centuries. But now,
we've got something to say.
Save it. Save the old-fashioned advice, the empty excuses.
It's all worthless, unlike us.
To our fellow females, it is time to save ourselves by saving our money.
Contributing to our futures, investing in our independence.
Until we're no longer 80%
more likely than men to live in poverty in retirement.
So again, we say to that,
save it. The falsehoods, the feelings of fault. Then the funds.
Learn how to save for your retirement at wesaysaveit.org.
It all comes down to this, the Juicer finale. That's Hudson Ridley. That's Sam Reese. The number 1 seed, the number 2 seed. It was all meant to come down to this, and I'm so excited to judge it. Adam Gotkin here.
Yeah.
I am the guy who decides everything. So I hope you guys were nice to me this year, because
I've been very nice to you.
I hope you think that. All right. So we start things off. Question number 1. This is all going to be college football related because, well, it's the college football playoff show. And Hudson, I'm going to go to you first. Out of all the coaches, who had the best coaching performance this season?
Keen listeners of No Pulp would have heard Sam Reese say it 10 minutes ago. Curt Cignetti, right? This is a guy who elevated a team from what we thought they could never reach last year. This was the worst team in college football history, by the way, before Curt Cignetti took over. Now they are not only no longer the worst team, that belongs to my Northwestern Wildcats historically, they are now the number 1 seed on a completely rebuilt and retooled team. The offense gets a lot of credit in what they've done with the RPO system under Curt Cignetti. They look slick and they got the perfect quarterback to operate it. But the coaching job he has done to put the pieces in place on the defense and get them prepared to go up against an Ohio State who they held to 10 points, to go on the road in that game against Oregon and beat the Ducks, who were at the top of the college football world at the time. He has taken this program from complete zero to hero. He did that last year, and boy, he has done it tenfold this year. They're the number 1 team in the country right now.
It's been impressive stuff, but he does have the luxury of now in the NIL world using that money to help out with the roster, something that's not quite the luxury for group of 5 programs like James Madison. And that's why Bob Chesney has had the best coaching performance without a doubt. This is someone who's won it at every level, and that's what impresses me. He did it at Division III Salve Regina. He did it at Division II Assumption. He did it at the FCS level with Holy Cross. And oh, by the way, this year is only the second season James Madison is eligible for postseason ball at the FBS level. What did he do? He brought them all the way to the college football playoff. No easy task to go undefeated in the Sun Belt, get the job done, and punch that ticket into the field of 12. I love what Bob Chesney did, and there's a reason why he's going to UCLA next, because he's going to take that next step. He wins wherever he goes.
That JMU program, they have really been on the rise.
Yeah,
I really wonder who got them to that point.
I wonder who recruited JMU's quarterback, the guy who built them before. That was Kurt Cignetti. Kurt Cignetti is the reason that Bob Chesney had a good team this year, because the foundation was there.
He's a great coach,
don't discount the Duke's NIL funds. I know a couple people who play there.
Sure.
PFT commenters pouring money.
They have money compared to the other Sun Belt teams. So Hudson, you win question number 1. But as we've learned in the juicer, question number 1, that doesn't really do anything, because question number 2, that's for double the amount of points. And Hudson, I'm going to go to you first as well for this one. Who is the best player in college football this season?
Jeremiah Love. Without a question, it's Jeremiah Love. Going into the season, you thought it's Jeremiah Love. And so far it has been Jeremiah Love. He is astounding with what he could do. We saw what Ashton Jeanty could do running off and breaking off of tackles last year. He is more athletic than what Ashton Jeanty did last year. Notre Dame just has a more diverse offense that they decide to use. This play right here in specific, when he broke to the end zone against Syracuse, he hit the Heisman pose because he knows it. I actually got to ask him after the game, or did you know you were going to hit the pose? He said he knew, right? Because that's the kind of player he knows. He knows he is potentially the Heisman. He's the guy who deserves it because he's put on the best performances this year. I also want the tape to speak for itself, right? It's not all about numbers and accolades, but it's what you put on film. Notre Dame, after those first 2 games, which Jeremiah Love still played solid in those first 2 games, they went on an absolute tear afterwards, winning out the rest of the season, due in large part to Jeremiah Love. I don't think your guys in the playoff either. Due in large part to what Jeremiah Love put on tape. He is the best running back I have seen in a long time. That includes Ashton Jeanty. He's an electrifying player. I just love the way that he runs. He's the best player in college football.
Sure, he's deservedly a Heisman candidate, but the guy who's even had a more impressive season, quarterback position, most impressive player I've seen, Diego Pavia. This guy is so fun to watch, and he's been tearing it up. He should win the Heisman.
That doesn't mean
his
he's the
dual
best.
threat, well, yeah, but that's, I'm just saying that's part of it, right? Like, this guy is a Heisman candidate like Jeremiah Love for a reason, and Pavia has been the best player all around because of what he can do in the air and on the ground. Over 4,000 total yards this season, 27 passing touchdowns, but he can run it like Love only does, right? I guess he can be a passing back too sometimes, but 9 rushing touchdowns as well for Pavia. He set the record for passing yards, passing touchdowns, and total offensive yards for this Vanderbilt squad that he led to the first ever 10-win season. A record 6 SEC wins to a top 15 ranking. He plays with swagger. He backs it up. He's been the best player in college football.
He backed it up at Alabama too, and he took that kneel pre-game. That's a highlight play from
sure,
him.
Here's the thing.
He's been electric.
If the question was most valuable player, I'm going Diego Pavia. I think Vanderbilt without him, they're nothing.
Yeah.
But it's best player. And Jeremiah Love is the best football player in college football. So because of that, Hudson, you're up 3-0. But question number 3, worth 3 points. So Sam, you are not done yet.
Yeah.
Best college football game this season.
Yeah.
To save your chances, what do you think?
And I will, because it's an easy choice. Texas A&M against Notre Dame. This was an early game in the season, but boy, did it have big implications. We learned later down in the road, and you felt it at that moment. A 41-40 win for A&M at Notre Dame Stadium, and you knew the Irish were already in some trouble after losing the week before to Miami. The pressure was on, and these teams just dueled it out, went back and forth. The stakes were high, and then you had Marcel Reed throwing the winning touchdown pass with just 13 seconds left in that hostile environment. The extra point winning the game for the Aggies, and that ultimately is the result that kept Notre Dame out of the playoffs. So not only was it a super entertaining game at Notre Dame Stadium, but it had so much on the line, and it delivered.
It certainly did, and I will agree that was a good game. When I think of the best games in college football this year, that is one of them. But you know what the best one is? Penn State, Oregon is up there. Above it, Georgia and Tennessee was such an amazing game that people don't forget about it. It was a fantastic game down the stretch, coming off to a missed field goal in the most hyped Tennessee-Georgia matchup we've seen in forever. People forget, at that point in the season, Tennessee was a bona fide college football playoff contender. The way that they had looked through those first couple games of the season, they got off to a hot start. Georgia blitzed them afterwards, making a massive comeback, and then at the very end of the game, trembling in his boots, Max Gilbert showing the shots of the sophomore kicker on the sideline, shaking like he was in war, and he missed the kick. The whole stadium burned down in Neyland. It was an incredible scene, a checkerboard game, the most fantastic game of the year, not just considering the ending, but the comeback. It was absolutely spectacular, and the field goal and the storyline afterwards that Max Gilbert missed to boot. Everyone in the stadium knew he was going to miss that kick. You sometimes think that won't go wrong. It went comically wrong. An incredible game.
Any rebuttal?
I mean, Tennessee is a team that we knew. You're hyping them up like they were all this. We knew they weren't going to be that good.
Not at that point.
Yes, we did. We knew coming into the season.
All right.
There was way more at stake.
Two really good games. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I'm going to have to go with Notre Dame, Texas A&M. I mean, that had so much magnitude to it.
So much.
Night game in South Bend, so it's 3-3. It's all tied up. This is how things were supposed to go. I promise you, not staged. Both semifinals go to the bonus. The championship goes to the bonus. And Sam, you get to go first. Who's the national champion?
Ohio State, absolutely. This Buckeyes team is even more motivated, even more of a favorite after losing that Big Ten championship. That did not irk them the right way, obviously, losing to Indiana in the Big Ten championship, but they're still the most talented squad, and their defense is the real deal, legit, with a lot of returners from last year's national championship team, too. And I'm not concerned about the offense. I think they're going to establish the run game throughout this playoff, make a deep run, and especially if it's a rematch against Indiana, the Hoosiers are not beating them twice. I think Ohio State is absolutely still the most talented team. And again, I think this Big Ten title loss makes them even more fired up to go all the way. They're going to do it.
All right, Hudson.
I have one issue with Ohio State. To win the college football national championship game, you have to play in the college football national championship game, and they're losing to Georgia. It will be Indiana and Georgia in the championship. I think Indiana wins a slim margin over Georgia in that championship game. I think what Indiana's defense has done, I've already said it, has been highly underrated. Gunnar Stockton has been up and down this year. Right now, he's trending up. Where will he look to in that championship game? These are evenly matched defenses, but I do think Fernando Mendoza, under pressure, I do like him more than Gunnar Stockton. I think it'll come down to that, but I don't even think Ohio State plays in the game.
This is really tough.
I disagree.
This is really tough for me, and I know that I said that Georgia's my national champion earlier in the year, but I don't think you argued it very well at all right there by saying that Indiana has a good defense. You said that Ohio State's the best team. Ohio State, I think, is going to win the national championship.
I have Indiana.
Georgia.
No, I have Indiana winning.
Indiana winning.
That's what I said. I think it's Indiana, Georgia in the championship, and Indiana wins.
Did you hear?
Am I crazy? Indiana, Georgia in the championship.
You're saying Indiana wins.
I'm saying Indiana wins. I think it's Indiana, Georgia in the championship.
Ohio State
Indiana
is going to win.
I said Indiana wins here.
All right. You know what? Confusion on my end. I'm going with Sam, though. Ohio State.
Yes.
Ohio State wins it.
Buckeyes,
Sam
baby.
Come
on.
Oh, God.
Come on.
So sorry.
Hudson's upset. Your argument made you were saying Georgia, Gunnar Stockton's good. I couldn't follow where you were going.
Undefeated season.
I was trying to. You said Georgia's good, and then you said Indiana's. I didn't know where you were. What were you saying? He made it clear that Ohio State was the best team. And because of that,
back and
Sam
forth,
Reese,
this, that, and the other. Champions. Thank you, Sam.
I feel like I deserve a little bit.
Yeah, you missed it.
I didn't even see that.
I feel like I deserve. You're welcome.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
No, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations,
Thank you very much.
Hudson. I'm sorry, but thank you all so much
Never
for tuning in to this
number one
edition
seed.
of Nope. Sam.
Sorry.
Thank you for tuning in to No Pulp. For Adam Avin, I'm Adam Gotkin. Huge thank you again to our executive producer, Connor McGahan. We'll see you all in 2026.